Hello everyone, this is Ria Santos. I just wanted to show y'all how to color really fast. This method will only work in Clip Studio or Manga Studio, but other programs I'm not quite sure how it'd work there. I'm not sure if it has the same tools, but I will go over this real fast. Here's an example that's already colored. I set aside his color palette right over here, just little swatches to take care of, and his line art is right here. Now, you technically only need two layers, the line art layer and a blank layer, nothing on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one tool right here saying set as reference layer. I'm going to click that on the line art layer. Yeah. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to pick the black for his hair. And then I'm going to pick the bucket tool. What you have to make sure is you have the bucket tool as refer edited layer only. That means it'll only go to this one layer that you set as reference. And then you gotta go down and make sure that the area scaling is correct. I have it so far high up. Let's see if this will work. But also you have to set up the multiple referring and set that also as reference layer. That way, again, it remembers and knows that it's only the reference layer. Alright, so let's see if the area scaling's right. Yeah, it looks good. Oh, no it isn't. See how it goes right there? We'll bring that down a bit and see if that'll fix it. Maybe 10, maybe 13. Still a little bit much. Let's see if closing the gap will help more. No, not quite. Let's bring that down. A little tinkering here and there. We'll figure it out. I think that's as close as we'll get. See? And that's how easy it is to color this. Just pick a color and you... Oops. Sorry, I have it on the reference art. What you need to do is go to the blank layer. I'll pick the black hair color again. Boop, 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 boop. The best thing about this is you don't need to like copy the line art or anything, because if you try to copy the line art layer, sometimes it'll have this one effect where, here I'll show you, Central C for copy, Central V to paste, and sometimes if you paste the line art will get really bold. So not all the time you want to do that, especially with really thin line art. So this is actually very useful for keeping your line art the same and just coloring it. So I'm going to just do this really quickly. Do, 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 do. I really find it's useful to have to figure out your color palette and save them for the future. That way you won't ever have, if you redraw the same character again, you won't have an issue about picking the right colors. Eventually though, you'll probably memorize the color palette so much that you won't need to memorize or have a color palette later. You'll just be doing it automatically, knowing which one it is. Okay, we're almost done. Now, if I was coloring this for animation or anything, I'd probably stick to just doing one color at a time and keep coloring all the layers. Um, like every frame, I'd be coloring it just one or two colors, be alternating it. So, like, say if he was in a different pose, I'd be sticking with just one color until all those frames for that scene's done, and then go back and switch to another color, not do the madness that I just did. So, take it from me, Case. Don't do what I just did if you're working with animation for a long period. Okay, so now that we had that done, look, that's all you really needed. And you can even color over top. Like, I added a new layer, I added a clipping layer, and you can have like multiply or overlay. I'm going to put some multiply on. Choose a purple maybe. I'm going to lower the opacity because if not, it'll come out this dark. I don't want it that dark. And you just have fun. I'm not going to really color this seriously for the moment with the shading, but that's just an example of how you can color really fast. Now I also have another example that I want to show. As you saw, when I colored him, the line art, when I delete the line art, you can almost get lineless art. But the problem for the drawing was I had the anti-alias like up here around these two. The anti-aliasing affects the pixels in between line weight and line art, so I did another drawing where I fixed that. I had the anti-alias off. Let's see, is this it? Yes. So here's a little doodle that has the anti-aliasing off, and what you can do is have the color palette set up, and then you can color in the line art, and then you can turn the line art off. What you see here is also lineless art, but it could use some cleanup. What you can do is you can actually do a layer over top and clip it onto the line art, or excuse me, the color art. Yeah, there we go. That way, if you want to have a color fix, like right here, you can see how that's not quite right. You can just go in and clean up. This makes line art, or colorless line art, lineless art, there we go, lineless art, so much more faster. So again, I'm just using a new layer with a clipping or a mask layer. I think in Photoshop it's called mask. But as you see here, you may get areas where you're not quite sure if it's right or wrong. If you want to, you can turn back on the line art and lower its opacity just to understand where everything's back in. And if you want to, you can even go on top of the line art. Yep, there we go, yes. And just start coloring in areas. If you want to, you can even duplicate again. Duplicate the line art. And keep it at that lower opacity while you're working over top, just to make sure you're getting it right. That way you can see what you're accidentally coloring over. But anyways, once you're all done with that, you can turn off the line art completely and you'll have lineless art. As you see, this needs a little bit more fixing up. Let's see. Yeah. And what I do for the eyes and stuff is that I can use that one extra line art layer over top. Let me turn off some of this, or turn it on. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to quickly duplicate that, turn that one off. Okay, it's not the right layer. Okay, taking the line art, turning that first one off. Okay, so just because it's lineless doesn't mean that it has to have no lines. You can have as many lines as you want. But what I try to do is I erase some of it and keep the ones that I do want. Like, I'd like to keep the ear line art. Erase the head line art and all this other stuff. But I want to keep basically the face, the body, and again the ears. And I'd like to keep the swirl because I can actually change that to be a different color. Sorry, turning off that bottom layer. Okay, and now to color the areas that I wanted to keep. I'm going to put a blank layer over top, clip it. This way I can color the line art. If I got the right layer selected, yep. I do. Okay, so I'm coloring that a darker blue. I'm going to color the hair like a dark reddish color. Make the eyes slightly browner. It looks a little dark. Maybe the ears too. Why not just take the whole face? And then I'm going to take purple and make that. And that's what you can do. And then for the eyes, you just go underneath the line art layer. Just color it in. And if you wanted to go a step further, if you were making this super detailed, you can go over top and do the clipping layer again. Maybe add a little shadow to it. Get some extra depth. And why not? I'm going to go back to the line art layer because masking wouldn't work on the face because the face isn't masked. And there we go. If I was going to clean this up further, this would be much better. Anyways, that's all, folks.